Right. At this point of time, I think Afghanistan is coming back into focus and it's going to be back in the center of world affairs. And if you look at it in history, throughout history, Afghanistan always held an important place in the ebbs and flows of history, right? You had it in the center of the Asian landmass. All flows to and from India were through Afghanistan, whether the Persian kings or Alexander go back in time, or the Central Asians coming in, like Babar, who came in actually from Tajikistan. The Silk Road also came through this, what have you. So even now, in the past, ever since the end of the Second World War, the Russians came in, USSR, then the Mujahideen and Pakistan and USA got into the act. That is Taliban point 1.0, Taliban 2.0, now back. China is trying to get in. The ebbs of flow, ebbs and, whatever, the flow of geopolitics in this region or in the Asian landmass has been centered around Afghanistan. To that extent, I feel that, Mackinder's heartland theory spoke of Siberia as the heartland and this area as the rimland. But I think the heartland theory should actually fit in here in Afghanistan. And why is this? Why am I talking about all this today? I'm talking because the Afghan Taliban foreign minister is landing into Delhi today, and tomorrow onwards he's going to have a discussion with India. Very significant. We'll talk of all this. He's coming from Moscow. What is he doing in Moscow? He was talking about there's a Moscow format dialogue. We'll talk of that also. He's attended that yesterday and day before and he's come here. The very important thing is, China already has its presence there. Pakistan is smarting the fact that their foreign minister is coming here, the Taliban foreign minister is coming here. US wants a base there. Russia has its own issues. End of all this, he's chosen to come to India. There are many angles to this. So we'll go over it one by one because I think it's a very significant and important trip. Also remember, everyone talks that India doesn't have leverage. India doesn't have agency today. US is doing this, US is doing that, US and Pakistan are going to rule the world kind of a thing, which is prevalent in our societal thinking. But this is very significant. It goes to the heart of the matter. And that's what we're going to talk of, right? Okay. So we've seen this map. Now let's first focus on India, Afghanistan. We'll see that background. This visit is just not a one-off visit as a reflex to many things. This whole story started last year. And we'll go over the events and then we'll get to Pakistan, Afghanistan, immediate neighbor, and then we'll get to other things. Our friendship or ties are historical. We have cultural ties. We have Bollywood, which is very famous out there. The Afghan cricket team is based in Faridabad, right? And virtually every victory of the Afghan team is treated as our own victory. It's virtually like the second Indian team in different colors, right? And then, of course, we have to also understand before the US withdrawal in 2021, India had a large presence in Afghanistan. And we established a great contact with the people of Afghanistan. At that time, the Taliban, which were based in Pakistan, were acting at the behest of Pakistan and were probably inimical to us because a lot of Taliban was infiltrated by the Pak ISI and ISK and all that who were operating in Afghanistan. But at the same time, that was also the time we gave them a lot of support. And that is paying us now. Whether you talk of the Salma Dam or the Zaranj Dalaram Highway, whatever. And we'll talk of it as we go along. Okay. So that the depth up relationship between the people of India and the people of Afghanistan is huge. And to that extent, I think Afghans and Indians are good friends, inseparable as people to people. And I met many Afghans, right? And they find themselves very comfortable in India. In fact, I did a couple of courses right from the beginning. When I was in NDA, I had two guys in my course, in my own squadron from Afghanistan. Right. And one of them, and in fact, there were at that time about 12 Afghan students in our course who were spread over different squadrons. One of them, Wali Khan, I still remember Wali Khan. Very tough guy, intelligent guy. He later became a major general. When we were majors, he became a major general. Right. Unfortunately, he was one of the guys who was hung with Najibullah in that square. He was one of that. He'd gone the Soviet way. And there was this guy called Kodaidad who was a terrific horseman. I don't know what he's doing now. So, well, we were good friends. We had everything and did a course with an Afghan officer in NDC. And very interestingly, after the course, he left his family here. We never went back. They're there. Hopefully, we should be meeting them in a day or two. So, Afghanistan has the Afghans find it more comfortable to be in India. And that is why their cricket team is also based out of India. Anyway, whatever, that's a different story. Look, let me go back into how this relationship, the formal relationship, has developed over a period of now 1 year. Right? The first outreach was last year in November. The Joint Secretary East, he went to, or the Joint Secretary who was looking after the Afghan desk, visited Kabul. This was on 4th, 5th November last year. He met the defense minister, okay, Mullah Muhammad Yaqub. He also met the earlier Afghan president, Hamid Karzai. He also met the foreign minister, Amir Khan Mutaki, who's coming today. And he had met the head of all UN agencies in Kabul. So it was a wide-ranging kind of a discussion he had. This is the first time a formal delegation went there. So he laid the ground, he met everyone, right? And established base relations. Till then, we had no relations. It was all third-hand relations or through the boy, right? Then this was the time when we started discussing the Chabahar port. And then we said, look, this Chabahar port can be used for trade, humanitarian assistance, everything. Right? That was also the time we were inking the deal with Iran. And interestingly, that was also the time when USA was supporting us to do all this. They said, do it. Because they wanted and then Mr. Vikram Misri, our External Affairs Secretary, he met same Amir Mutaki in Dubai a month or two later. Right? By then, we had given more than $3 billion to Afghanistan. I mean, this is over 2 decades. It's not a small money. We've also sent after this, 500 tons, 50,000 metric tons of wheat, 300 tons of medicine, 27 tons of earthquake relief, 40,000 liters of pesticide, 100 million polio doses, 1.5 million doses of COVID, 11,000 units of hygiene kits, 5,000 units of winter clothing, and stationery kits. Whole lot, health sector, refugees, sports, use of Chabahar, everything. Humanitarian assistance. So we've been generous with them. And this is besides what we did earlier. Right? We built the parliament. And they're using it. And then after this, sometime around February, March, we opened a consulate of the Taliban in Mumbai. And the guy who was manning this consulate is Ikramuddin Kamal. Who is he? He's a person who's done his PhD in the South Asia University. Where is South Asia University? It's in Chanakyapuri. Trained by us, this thing. He's now a consulate. So some kind of a semi-formal. We didn't keep this, embassy in of Delhi. We kept it in Mumbai, little away, where people could go up and down. Right. So already a lot of groundwork has been laid before this foreign minister's visit. So if you look at it, it's in this whole story, you can see it in two layers. One is uh, Amir Mutaki is coming tomorrow and to hold talks with all of us in India as a consequence of the current global dynamics, or rather, in the current global dynamics. Okay, and he's chosen to come to India first. Okay, but at another level, this is an ongoing thing. Uh, it's an ongoing exercise which started last year. Over a year, slowly things have happened. Probably next, maybe Mr. Shankar will go there, but we'll see. We'll see that as it goes. Okay, right. So this is the trajectory of our relationship with them. And then, of course, there's this issue of Chabahar port. You see, uh, now we have a 10-year agreement between India and Iran to develop Chabahar. Now that's come under question mark. You see, important for us. We've taken this contract. Now suddenly USA says no. They waived all the sanctions which they waived off. They've said no, that waiver has been taken off. So we're getting into a head with USA. How do we handle this? We'll see. Because all this will come in. But Chabahar is very important for us. Right? This is the port, just to give you an idea. Incidentally, last year we got Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. He visited Chabahar port, the Deputy Prime Minister. So we've been contacting the Defense Minister. We've been in touch with their Foreign Minister who's now coming here. We've been in touch with the Deputy Prime Minister. Right? I mean, a contact has been great. They also want stronger political ties and economic ties, of course. They want visas. We've also deployed a technical team there, and that technical team has been there from 22. It carries out humanitarian work, everything. So a lot of things which have been happening. So this visit is, in that respect, a continuation of the earlier one, but in many respects, this is significant. We'll come to that a little later. Okay, now what are our interests? Now I'm getting. We know that, look, we need to get through Chabahar. From Chabahar to Zaranj, there is Iranian road network as it is, plus a railway network which we are putting a railway line. Okay, and this Zaranj to Dalaram is a road net which we made during the Taliban days earlier. In fact, one of my course mates, who's now retired as a Major General, Babu, he went with the BRO team and made it. It's very interesting how we made it. Maybe someday I'll get him and he'll talk how we made this. He stayed there 3 years to get this road made. Okay. And it's very funny that, the Taliban protected him to make the road. The Taliban took money from him to make the road. Both. So they ensured that he was absolutely safe. I used to talk to him. He said, look, no, Taliban said nothing, no problem. Don't worry. Just relax. The Indian people can keep building the road because we know it's for us. But at the same time, the Taliban also took money from him. That's how the whole story is. And that's how you deal with them. Okay. And notwithstanding all that, and this was at the height of the US occupation of Afghanistan, and Pakistan was very active there. And, I must tell you, the Indian DA of Kabul, Brigadier Ravi Mehta, late Brigadier Ravi Mehta, he and I were friends from the times when we were majors. And this poor chap got blown off just outside the Indian embassy by ISI guys. This is the time. That was the time. Okay. And this chap was also another coursemate of mine hanging around there. We were worried. But when later I met him, he said we had no problem. The Taliban ensured that no ISI chaps came anywhere near. And the ISI didn't have their reach up to the alarm, which is this is more towards Iran. And Iran also helped them. So there are a lot of equations which we have in this area which will work for us. Why I am getting this? And of course, from Delaram, you can go to Herat onwards to Central Asia. You're in Tajikistan, straight. You're not even dependent on Iran, not Pakistan. So this is critical for us. A stable Afghanistan with Taliban and this thing, Iran, this route is very critical for us. So should we put our foot down against USA? I think so. Strategic autonomy. We have no choice actually. And we'll talk of this a little later, maybe down the week, how India has to tackle USA. Because we are coming to a head. Let's be very clear. It's time we know we are grown up and we deal. And this Afghanistan will be a test case for us. Okay. Of course, Chabahar is in Iran's Sistan Baluchistan province next to this thing. And you're looking at also Gwadar, which is just about 50 kilometers from Chabahar. Okay. Now, let's get to the current. I've traced the immediate history. I'll get back to Afghan-Indian relations down the line. So what we'll do now is, get to the current story. We all know Trump wants Bagram. Okay. But his outreach to Taliban has been more of a threat, more threatening. We'll talk of that also. There's so many angles in this whole story. But this is the Moscow format. What is the Moscow format? The Moscow format was held yesterday and day before. Of course, it was held in Moscow. What for? It was held for the Taliban. How to get Taliban into the mainframe. Because as you would have known, or if you don't know, in July, Russia recognized the Taliban regime. And they have to establish formal diplomatic relations. China had already done it long back. In fact, China has an ambassador there. I'll touch upon this a little later. Okay. In this Moscow format, who all participated? There were 10 nations. This is where the interest starts. Interesting thing. There was Tajikistan. There was, of course, there's 5 Central Asian republics. Basically, the format was 5 Central Asian republics: Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, those stans. I just said 3. Kazakhstan, right? And all these. Turkmenistan. 5 plus Afghanistan, 6. China, Moscow, Pakistan, India. Okay. What was passed in this? There's a small clip. Hear this.
The Moscow format of consultations on Afghanistan is a regional platform established by Russia in 2017 to address Afghanistan's political security and humanitarian issues. Moscow hosted the 7th meeting of the format on Tuesday. For the first time, an Afghan delegation led by Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi attended as a member. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov opened the session by calling on the West to end its hostility toward Afghanistan.
Unfortunately, major challenges on the Afghan front still stem from Western countries' openly hostile policies. They continue to hold Afghanistan's sovereign financial assets and maintain sanctions on restrictions on its banking sector. We once again urge the West to abandon its confrontational policies, return the funds it has seized, and take responsibility for Afghanistan's post-conflict reconstruction, including compensation for the enormous damage inflicted on the country's economy and infrastructure over decades.
Lavrov reiterated Russia's opposition to any foreign military deployment in Afghanistan or neighboring countries under any pretext.
The military presence of extra-regional actors risks triggering instability and new conflicts. Afghanistan's history is full of foreign military presence, and the necessary lessons should have been learned by now.
Similar comments were echoed by the Iranian representative.
I want to draw attention to a few things. The first is that all nations should oppose any foreign infrastructure or military presence in Afghanistan. The second is the necessity of increased international coordination and collaboration in the war against terrorism. In addition, regardless of the political climate, humanitarian assistance must be given to the Afghan people.
In July this year, Russia became the first country to formally recognize the Taliban government in Afghanistan since the group took power in 2021. The Taliban's foreign minister welcomed the move, calling on other countries to follow suit as Afghanistan keeps efforts to overcome its challenges.
Our nation has not had any sad occurrences in the last 8 months. Afghanistan has not been found to contain any drug plantations. There are no terrorist organizations' bases or headquarters, especially for Daesh. Such tragedies do, however, happen outside of our nation. In order to confront the drug menace and terrorism, as well as issues in the diplomatic, economic, and political arenas, we are dedicated to working with all regional states. We will not, however, put up with any foreign presence.
So, look, if you've seen this, very important things came up. One, everyone here said foreign presence in Afghanistan is not okay. They've opposed it, including Pakistan. And mind you, Pakistan is also now partnering USA. What is this declaration? It was against Bagram being taken over by USA. And we know Pakistan has gone and sat in the lap of Trump, and Trump is, treating this little field marshal like his pet dog. And this pet dog has gone and said, "I'll not let you get in." See, that's the first thing. Of course, China, USA, Russia, and we are against them getting into Bagram. We don't want American presence there. But very importantly, Iran. Iran was there. What did Iran say? We don't want anyone here. I'm sure we have spoken to Iran on this. And I think at some level, we should start talking back to Iran. If we have to take oil from them, so be it. If USA is behaving like a nut, we can reply it back with our own nuttiness. Very simple. Okay. And let's see how far Trump goes. I mean, kabhi to khade ho jao. And I'm sure things will happen. Okay. Right. Now let's look at the next thing. This is the analysis. Of course, one more thing. What Mutaki said. No drugs. Afghanistan has eliminated poppy growing in Taliban. There is no poppy growing in Afghanistan. Some drug trafficking is happening from Pakistan, not from Afghanistan. But when you hear Pakistanis, the liars they are, they say, Afghanistan will start drug trafficking all over. Yesterday I heard, yesterday morning when I was taking a walk, yesterday evening, when I was taking a walk, I was hearing a Ejaz Haider, I think. He was the foreign secretary of Pakistan. He was saying, problem with Afghanistan is drug trafficking. And drugs are gone from here. Actually, if you see the international drug, trade, it has multiplied manifold in Myanmar. Not here, it's gone. It dried out. So, Pakistan is framing a false narrative in this whole game. And we'll see why. That's important. Okay. And then, overall, I'll give you an overview of our view of Taliban, Afghanistan, everything. Okay, this is of course a Times of India thing. I'm grateful to Times of India for this clip. But I think it gives you a very logical idea of what is happening and what our attitudes are, and then we'll discuss other things. Listen to it.
The Affairs Minister thanked Acting Foreign Minister for his very strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack, as also they agreed to advance bilateral cooperation in several areas, uh, how we can further strengthen development partnership. So those details are available in public domain, so I would urge you to have a look at that. But just to also, the External Affairs Minister also welcomed his firm rejection of recent attempts to create distrust between India and Afghanistan through false and baseless reports.
Afghanistan has long been on the SCO agenda. Compulsions of regional stability are buttressed by our long-standing concern for the well-being of the Afghan people. The international community, particularly SCO members, must therefore step up with development assistance. India, for its part, will certainly do so.
Excellency, India is committed to increasing its connectivity with the Central Asia. Better connectivity not only enhances mutual trade but also fosters mutual trust. However, in these efforts, it is essential to uphold the basic principles of the SCO Charter, particularly respecting the sovereignty and the traditional integrity of member states. India has been consistent and steadfast in its policy in support of peace, security, and stability in Afghanistan. Our immediate priorities in Afghanistan include providing humanitarian assistance to Afghan people and contributing to Afghanistan's overall developmental needs. As Afghanistan's largest regional development partner, India continues to implement capacity building initiatives for the Afghan people. Excellency,
It's a very important visit because it shows that the world is reaching out to Prime Minister Modi and to India. Nobody expected that relations with the Taliban would reach a point where we would actually have an official visit from their foreign minister. It's a very significant development. It also destroys the narrative that has been created by Pakistan, right? Which is the narrative that India has been isolated. Where is the isolation? The reaching out of Afghanistan itself, right, shows that the world, Afghanistan recognizes India as a major power. India as a power which can be a major factor in the stability and the future of Afghanistan.
So you see the Indian outlook. We are very clear that we have to make an outreach to Afghanistan and all that. And of course, what MJ Akbar says, where's the question of isolation of India and all this nonsense we're talking about? When this man is coming here, and why is he coming here? The importance of India. After Moscow is coming here, and right as we see, and as we go along, and you'll see that China has been in Afghanistan for quite some time. Pakistan has always been in Afghanistan for so long, but he chooses to come here. So there is some value in this whole story which is happening. Okay, so let's get ahead. Now let's look at the Pakistan angle, because this is very interesting and you need to understand why this outreach to India this way and why we should take this forward. So that gives you leverage against many people. Pakistan, now they are rethinking their Taliban doctrine. Okay, this is from dawn. They are being forced to think. After all, at that time they said breaking shackles of slavery and all that. Remember what Americans said? But now that is why I get back to the heading which I gave. Afghanistan is breaking all the shackles. Afghanistan is breaking its shackles out of China. Afghanistan is breaking its shackles out of Pakistan. Afghanistan is breaking shackles out of USA. It's reaching out Okay, and that is important, the breaking of shackles. And their main outreach is to India. They can't, sure, look, at the end of the day, they don't have economic viability, they don't have a military, anything. I mean, they can get hit and they're taking casualties. People are dying there, unfortunately. But the only place where they're really coming for succor is India. Okay. This is what, again, the part of that article. He says, for years on, from the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan in August 2021, the optimism surrounding what was being hailed as a geopolitical victory for Pakistan has vanished. Instead, Pakistan is contending with a rising wave of militant violence from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to Balochistan, and which threatens to expand inland. Okay, what options does Islamabad have to rethink its Afghan strategy? It has got no options. And I'll explain why. And then, of course, there's this article went on a few days back, which says what's behind Russia's recognition of Taliban, right? And he says, I mean, of course, these say, look, it's to prevent, terrorism from going all that, okay, and all that, and they're keeping an eye on the whole story. But there are fundamental problems. The Taliban and the TTP are connected umbilically, and Pakistan is having a huge problem. And this is an article of New York Times 3 days back, October 6th. We are on 9th, 3 days back. Pakistan fights its fiercest Taliban insurgency in a decade. The problem is getting more and more. And the relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan are worsening. Important for us to know and important to keep a pulse on, finger on the pulse. Because, we talk of Opsindur these days, Opsindur 2, all that. That's foolish talk, actually. Actually, foolish talk. I'm being very open about it. Do you need to do all that? You have more options. That's why I'm getting into this. Yesterday, ambush on Pakistan Army. They've lost 11, including a lieutenant colonel and a major. It's a big ambush. Okay, Pakistan is claiming we've knocked off 11 or 19 militants or terrorists or whatever you call it. Fitna al-Khawarij. That's what they call TTP. Okay, but that's Pakistan, lying always. But this is it in Orakzai. Where is Orakzai? Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. A day before that, Jafar Express attack, Balochistan. And this happened between Balochistan and Sindh. So you're looking at 3 districts, 3 provinces of Pakistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan, and Sindh being affected over a 24-hour period. 24 hours. So there are issues, and these are going up and up and up and up. The Global Terrorism Index, okay, you have a look at it, I'll expand it. It ranks Pakistan after Burkina Faso. This is Pakistan. Right? As per this, Taliban, TTP is the fastest growing terrorist group with 90% increase in attributed deaths. Balochistan has witnessed a significant surge in terrorist attacks and casualties. 84% rise in attacks with 202 terrorist incidents that have claimed 322 lives and 534 others. That is how it is. If Pakistan really deals well with the Afghan government, all this can be cut off. But they're not. They're not. See the thing. number of attacks in 24. 24 has been significantly high. But if 24 has been significantly high, 25 is even worse. But if you see this trajectory over a little longer period, these are the things. 2017, 16, 17 was very high. That was when Pakistan army carried out an operation into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and drove out the TTP and all that. But at that time, the US was supporting. Pakistan was economically better off. After that, it has sunk. Everything 2021, it stopped. That was the time when US withdrawal took place and all that. Now it's come back to normal. And this time Pakistan doesn't have any answers. That is why Afghanistan is important. Just look at KP, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The number of terrorism related incidents in not in 24, over the years. Again, see, 2021 onward, it started rising. 24, it was here. 25 so far. This is still October, or rather September is here. It's going to cross. But when you look at Balochistan, it's also already crossed. Right? There are reports by Pakistan Institute of Conflict Studies, Conflict and Security Studies, their premium think tank. Right? In the first 3 quarters of 2025 till September, the amount of violence and terrorist incidents seen as a combination of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan has already crossed that of 24. And people thought at the beginning of the year that 24 was out of proportion violence. Actually, if you see, the internal state of Pakistan is going back to worse. Do you actually need to go and do Op Sindoor with them? A waste of time. Now, between Pakistan and Afghanistan, Pakistan is not able to handle these incidents, or KPK or Balochistan, or for that matter POK or Gilgit-Baltistan. They're in a very bad shape. There are economic constraints. US support is not there. The US is not giving them intelligence, nor is China giving them intelligence because they don't know how to get it. US could give intelligence when US was on ground there. Now it's not there, it will not give anything. And Pakistan, we think they have intelligence, but they might not be having any intelligence. There's no political outreach. There's no political outreach by Pakistan. In fact, this chap Asim Munir has got no concept of political outreach. You read any intelligent guy or a chap with some amount of experience in Pakistan, their opinion makers and all, everyone says you need to have a political outreach to Balochistan, you need to have a political outreach to TTP, you need to have a political outreach to everyone, for that matter, even POK and Gilgit-Baltistan and Afghan Taliban. Pakistan is not able to do that because it's not there in his DNA, Asim Munir. The only thing in his DNA is military. But the military itself doesn't have resolve. It doesn't have staying power. Right now, because US wants to go to Bagram, and now this fellow has gone and sucked up to Trump, virtually sucking Trump. Where all, I don't know. So there's some limited cooperation, but how long will it last? They've got this BLA and Majid Brigade to be designated as foreign terrorist organizations. USA said that, but the same USA went to UN and said no. So while we might think that the relationship between Pakistan and USA has gone high, all that, on ground nothing might happen. Okay. We might think that Pasni will be taken over by USA, all that. We'll see. All these are up in the air. Even the recording is up in the air at this point of time. Nothing much is going to happen. Right? So, that's Pakistan internally. And whatever Pakistan has to sort out internally has something to do with Pakistan-Taliban relations. and they're deteriorating. There are serious security and political differences. Pakistan feels that, you know, the Afghan Taliban should put a rein on TTP. But they don't want to do it. Why do they don't want to do it? That's Durand line politics. Because no Afghan, no Pashtun recognizes the Durand line. They feel the land is up to Indus. And Taliban wants to reduce dependence on Pakistan for trade, transit, everything. And Pakistan wants to keep Afghanistan captive. And that is why my guess is this US move to take that waiver off Chabahar port is Pakistan instigated. It is a way of closing off an alternate access through Iran to Afghanistan, to India. If that happens, Pakistan will be the only source of connection and transit to Afghanistan. Then they can start controlling Afghanistan. So why should we allow it to happen? And of course, Pakistan keeps talking cross-border terrorism. Okay. It's not cross-border terrorism, it is homegrown terrorism in KP and Balochistan because of Pakistan's policies. Pakistan has imposed trade restrictions. That's why I said there's no political outreach. And more importantly, humanitarian approach. 5 lakh Afghan refugees have been thrown out overnight last year. And more are being thrown out. So why should the Afghan Taliban be dependent on Pakistan for anything or go to Pakistan? As it is, Pakistan is a beggar nation. They don't know how to feed themselves. So natural that Afghanistan will go out. Who will they go out to? India. Look at the China-Afghan relations. Okay. So this is also interesting, right? China gave some kind of recognition, diplomatic recognition. They put an ambassador there. Okay. And they're doing regional engagement. I mean, they're allowing Afghanistan to come into SCO. I wouldn't say SCO observer in BRICS, all that. They're reaching out. And, go back to 21. Everyone thought, the moment the US goes, China will get into Afghanistan. They'll do everything. They'll give economic assistance. Pakistan will help. BRI will go there. CPC will be extended there. And a lot of minerals in Afghanistan will be taken by China and all that. So far, what has happened? Zero. There's this Mess-Aynak copper mine, which has been leased with China for over 10 years. Okay. In the Amudarya region, in the border with Tajikistan. Nothing has happened there. People say, same thing is this Recodic, which this Asim Munir is selling to USA, and critical minerals and all that nonsense. Let's see where it goes. And I did this program on Pasni, and I did this program on US American thing, mining, Rockstar. Those mines are on the border, 40 kilometers inside Pakistan, Afghan border. You can't take minerals from this area easily. There are too many interests, Baluch, Pashtun, Hazaras, whole lot. And China has not been able to do anything. And China has got security problems with Afghanistan. Huge security problems. I'll show you the map. Let's show you the map. See where it is. There's a border. No, Xinjiang. This is Xinjiang. From Xinjiang, who operates? There's a militant organization called ETIM, East Turkestan Independence Movement. Those guys can move freely from Afghanistan to here. Some of those chaps have operated in Afghanistan earlier as part of Taliban. So Taliban cannot say anything to them. You see, the thing about Taliban is they have strong loyalties. Because TTP helped them at one point of time. It was TTP who helped Afghan Taliban when Afghan Taliban was on this side of Pakistan for 20 years. So they'll never let go of TTP. Similarly, the ETIM fought with the Afghan Taliban against USA, so they'll not let go of them also. And more importantly, these ETIM guys, when they couldn't stay in Afghanistan for many reasons, they went to Syria. They were fighting in Syria along with this Al Jolani character. Okay, HTS. Now those guys have gained reputation and they are back in Afghanistan. And if they enter China, Xinjiang, bye bye China. China is worried with Afghanistan on this issue. So the security factor is very high. And plus China is worried about drugs. Though the drugs are not there, if China drugs enter that place, end of story. And all these minerals and all this nonsense. Nothing will happen. We know that. Of course, China has strategic considerations because now they don't want USA to get in here. Bagram is here, where this N is, somewhere here, near next to Kabul. It's in Tajik area. If USA gets into Bagram, then they can use B2s to take out Lopnor. Lopnor is somewhere here. So there's a new dimension to this whole story between China and Afghanistan. So earlier people thought the CPEC will go there, BRI will go, nothing has gone, no minerals are gone, nothing has happened. China is being, now Afghanistan is breaking free of China and Pakistan and reaching out to India and others. UAE, though, they had always had a link. So there's something different happening in this region. And we all thought China will reach everywhere. It doesn't have, yeah. It's got short legs. See, please understand that China has been kicked out of this region from security point of view. They can take oil from Saudi Arabia and do some of those BRI projects, but influence is zero. The Chinese influence in this area is zero. Iran is a weak nation today. Okay, now they have been marginalized in Afghanistan. So in this entire belt, China is in a weak position. And even in the Central Asian Republic, China has got a good linkage economically. But if there's a security problem in these Central Asian republics, all these turn towards Russia. And this was evidenced last year when there was a problem in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. The Russian troops had to come and stabilize the situation. The Chinese couldn't. So Chinese have limited capabilities. We give too much to China. Okay. Now we'll talk of Bagram airfield. This Bagram airfield, which Trump wants. What has Trump said? If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram air base back to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. What will he do? He'll bomb them. After that, what? So many people have bombed Afghanistan. Afghans run away and they'll come back. And incidentally, it is not America who built that Bagram air base. The Bagram air base was built by Soviet. But USA is trying to reframe its posture in Central and South Asia. And they want to project a single focal point which can project American power. And that is Bagram. And that is why this Sergey Gore has been named as the ambassador to India and special envoy to Central Asia and South Asia. I explained that story in my earlier episodes. And what USA is trying, it's possible that Afghanistan might give Bagram airbase to USA, but they'll say, okay, recognize us first. So there are games being played all around, right? But this is a US ploy, but so far it has not been successful. And after this Moscow format, I don't know how it will go. But the problem is Pakistan has gone to the Moscow format and has opposed US entry into Bagram. So what will happen to Pakistan? How will USA view it? So Pakistan is also getting caught. Pakistan is becoming a battlefield between China and USA with pressure from Russia and India. We'll talk of that down the week. Maybe next week I'll talk of it in the morning. Pakistan as a battleground between USA and China. It's happening. And I did this long back. But we'll restart. What is India? Where does India stand in all this? We don't want terrorism to come back from Afghanistan. That's our thing. We need long-term goodwill with Afghanistan. There's a mutual outreach going on. It's very clear. Our aims are clear. That's what everyone has said. We want to have a good people-to-people relationship in Afghanistan. You need to nix the game with Pakistan. We need to bring the value of India to USA. That USA can't survive in Afghanistan without India. See, India's role was very important when USA stayed there for 20 years. The people-to-people connect came through India. That you take that out, Afghanistan is in chaos. America can't handle it because they have no people-to-people connect. Pakistan is people-to-people disconnect. Even if America wants to go back. So if America has to go back and put a base in Afghanistan, they'll need India. So Mr. Trump has to rethink of all his stories. Again, I'll talk of this. Why USA needs India. It's not only against China. What do they want in rare earths and Myanmar? What about Afghanistan? There's many issues. What about Indian Ocean region? Because USA doesn't have the reach into the Indian Ocean region. But that's another day. And then we need to curtail Chinese influence, which we are doing. People don't understand many of these things. They talk China as the next superpower. It is not a superpower by any stretch of imagination. What is our approach? It's very clear. You heard what Rajnath Singh said. You heard what Shankar said. And we are welcoming Afghanistan. We are not only welcoming a Taliban chap, we are welcoming the people of Afghanistan. We also want to engage with non-Taliban Afghans. There are democratic forces. There are women. There are minorities. We engage with them. They trust us. I've heard people say that all you have to go and say is you're Indian or speak. Moment you speak, you're Indian, and they recognize you're an Indian, they don't even look at you. They just passport shots, but the kind of trust they have, the people they have. I mean, the people trust us. We want an inclusive government and we are helping them. We have a whole lot of development projects which we can help. Like earlier I said, we've already built the parliament, Salma Dam, Zaran Dalaram Highway, which I spoke of. We can do more. Who will give them that kind of help? Does Pakistan have the capability of building anything? Afghanistan knows. USA didn't build anything. Neither could Russia build anything in Afghanistan. This is the thing. The building of anything in Afghanistan has been done only by India. Afghans know it. Who gave them vaccines? Where do they go to study? They all prefer to come to Delhi. For them, Delhi and surrounding area is the ultimate destination. Mind you, I've integrated with a lot of them, interacted with a lot of them. In fact, tomorrow I'll be in National Defense College and for a talk. And at that time, I'm hoping this Afghan guy is there, whom we did a course with. We'll talk with him. There are a lot of cultural and educational exchanges we are looking. Cricket. Right? And diplomatic engagement, regional cooperation. And of course, we have to reduce its dependence on Pakistan. All this is there, part of the whole story. So, this is what I had to say to tell all of you. I've taken a long time because the canvas is huge. The canvas is huge.